Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Asking yourself questions every single day is a very easy way of getting a balance on where your mindset is in life each and every day. And if you start each day off with a small victory, as I recommend for anyone, again, I am not a doctor. The purpose of the brave never fall is to give perspective on life and empowering you to do something important with everything that you learn and everything that you experience, that each experience that you gain in life is not wasted, it's not in vain. There's a reason behind it, and you can use it to go forward in the future. And if you look at life that way, each moment that happens to you, you know that it's happening for a reason. And then if you have to compartmentalize it for a little while and then come back to it, put it in a vault and come back to it, a mental bank, so to speak, and you can just draw out what you need and put back what you need. That's kind of how I view it. And the only way you can really do that, though, is you have to question everything about life. Everything. You should be as curious as the most smallest newborn kitten. You have to be as curious as a baby. You have to wake up every morning and act like you don't know anything. Because I think a lot of times when you're in life and it's ongoing, it's a roller coaster ride each and every day, it's really easy to get into a pattern of, I know what to expect. And that leads to you being comfortable. That leads to very warm and fuzzy feelings about yourself and others around you. You want to be around other people who are nice and comfortable, because that's where the drama isn't. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I highly also recommend that in your life. You want to be comfortable with people around you. You don't want to always have someone around you that's giving you all this uncomfortable negative tension. However, those are the people that are around you. But ultimately, when it comes to yourself, no matter who you have around you, no matter how long you have them around you, you're going to find that you're going to be often, more times than not, alone with your thoughts and your feelings. And you're going to have to learn either to accept them for what they are and be content with who you are and what's in your life and not complain about it, not say that life is unfair. Or you can say, I'm questioning everything because I feel like I'm leaving things on the table and I want more out of my life. Each individual has that opportunity every single day. At any moment in the day, anyone can stop and say, I'm choosing to think about where I'm at in my life. It's not like, again, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I understand them. I really do. But I also understand the reverse procrastination within it. A lot of people it's beneficial for a lot of people to see it that way, because it is a timestamp. You can go back and say, where was I at this time last year? Nothing wrong with that. I personally base everything. My New Year's is always on my birthday. That's when I was born. It's me. So my New Year's is different from anyone else's because I was born differently. So, and because I'm born in December and I'm so close to the New Year anyway, it is fair for me to say that, okay, you're talking about a month's difference. What's the difference? But it's a mindset thing. It's not about the date or the month. It's about the moment. If someone walked up to you and said, you know what? Months and days no longer matter to you. What are you doing right now? Just try to think about that. Questions. There's nothing wrong with asking very unique, what if, cautionary tale questions about yourself. Running away from that, I think, is cheapening a tool that you have that can aid you in anything. Because I think, and this is just my personal opinion, obviously, I think when people fail to get inside their own heads, you're admitting defeat before you even get started, without even knowing it a lot of times. Because your mind is asking questions anyway about all kinds of things. Random things that have nothing to do with your life. When you sit down in front of the TV and you pick up the remote control, your mind is asking you already, what are you in the mood to watch? How long do you have to watch it? And what are we going to eat while we're watching it? What are we going to drink while we're watching it? Are we going to take a nap while we're watching it? What room are we going to watch in it? Look at all the questions you can come up with just for a little, hopefully for most people, is a brief session of television, because I don't believe in watching too much television, because I think you could be doing other things. I think television, and this is a guy who is a complete film nerd, but one of the things I love about film is that you're 2 hours a day on film. It seems like, oh, that's a lot, but I don't even really get that. But even if you did 2 hours a day on film, it's still 2 hours. It's not binging a whole season of Netflix in a day. So, or 2 days actually, if depending on your schedule. The point is that that's a lot of questions just for one single little event. Now, what if you just took all of those questions, however many that was, or however many that comes up in the human mind when you do something like that, and you replace them with things all about you? If you took all those questions and you stopped in that moment, instead of reaching for the remote control, you sat in silence and thought, how are you feeling today? What are you going to do in an hour? What did you do in the past hour? What are you procrastinating on? When was the last time you did anything healthy? What are you having for dinner that's healthy? When was the last time you told people that deserve to hear that you love them? Have you told them that? When was the last time you got rid of someone in your life that is toxic to you? If you ask yourself all those questions daily, look at what you could clean up. That's called holding yourself accountable and responsible for who you are. Because a lot of times, and often in the cases I see with a lot of people, is that they're afraid of those questions because questions require answers. Now, some would say, no, they don't. You can pose a question and it doesn't need an answer. Sure. Now what is the point of opening up questioning on yourself if you're not going to answer any of the questions? So you have to get to a point where not only are you asking these questions, you're actively doing something to answer them. Now, everything isn't as immediate as the questions you ask yourself when you're about to watch the television. Your answers can be answered immediately and you're moving on to the next thing. What would you call that? In that case, that would be very comfortable because all your questions are going to be answered immediately without you even thinking about it. That's where you want to be at with your life. That's where you want to be at in your life. You want to get to a point where you're not even really thinking about these questions. They're in your head, in your subconscious, and you're thinking about them anyway. And it doesn't matter what's going on throughout the day. You know, at some point in the day, you're going to ask yourself that question. It doesn't have to be as disciplined a routine where you stop at a certain point of the day as if in prayer and just stop and think about it, although there's nothing wrong with that either. But for most people, you want to get it to a point when you're super self-disciplined, you have self-love, you're going about your business in a very unique way where you're just doing you. The questions are there and you're answering them all the time. That's what it's like to have self-discipline, self-love. And when you get to that type of place, those questions lead to other things that are very positive in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be those set of questions. Those are questions that are just basic foundational type things. You can go far deeper than that. And I challenge you to do that. I know I do that. I ask myself all the time, all types of what if questions. It's healthy. It's interesting to see what your mind comes up with when you ask your mind a unique question. Because usually a visual will pop up first, depending on the person. But usually a visual will pop up and you'll start running a story in your mind of how you would deal with that situation or deal with that, whatever question you come up with in your mind will start working. And because the mind is connected to the rest of the body, you're also going to feel some emotions about certain types of things. And I think that's the scary part. People don't want to go there. Because a lot of times when I ask, I have often thought about asking people this. And sometimes I would throw it out. I'd be like, what if this? And I do this with people I trust who can handle it. But sometimes I ask people a really screwed up question, just out of left field, just to see how they would answer it. Now, I warn them first. It's not like I just walk into a random person and throw something deep on them and be like, hey, all right, now you go deal with that. It'll be in the midst of a conversation. And I'll be like, what if? I've always done it my whole life. And most of the time when I was younger, I used to always that was like my MO for being jokey. They were like, hey, Mike, come up with a really, excuse my language, fucked up question for us, and I would do it. And they would get a laugh out of it. But I always thought, yeah, that's also can go the other way. What if I ask you a really effed up question and see what you thought about it? It's one thing to make a joke. It's another thing to have something that hits home in real life, like a home run in a baseball game. You can knock the wind out of yourself, out of the park with a wrong question at the wrong time if you're not prepared for it, which is why I like to exercise, because it's one of those things where even though it's just a mental story that you're making up, sometimes your heart can't tell the difference. And it will give you that emotion as if you're living in real time. Now, the heart is just getting a taste of whatever that is, whether it's good or bad, whatever you ask yourself in your mind, whatever answer you give, whatever scenario you pose to yourself, whatever cautionary tale or success tale that you give to yourself, your heart and your body will respond. And it will let you know immediately about how you would deal with that situation if it was real, because now you have to multiply that by an infinite number in some cases, because you just can't prepare yourself for certain things, whether it's successful or unsuccessful, a failure or disappointment or a triumph or victory. You can't ever get the true feeling until it happens, but you can numb it a little bit. You can prep yourself quite a bit by preparing your mind mentally for the emotional impact you're going to feel, because a lot of times the mental side of it, people don't give themselves enough credit for how strong they are mentally. I think emotionally is where people just allow themselves to get swamped. Because mentally, if you weren't strong enough, you wouldn't be able to get up and function every day. You have to be strong enough to even wake up and face this world, this unpredictable, sometimes very cruel and hateful world, and be able to get up every morning and say, I'm going to choose to see the bright side of this scenario. I wasn't asked to be here. I'm going to make the best of what it is. That's powerful. That's mental strength for everyone in their subconscious that they wake up with every single day. Unless you're bedridden and you're deep in depression, which we don't deal with in the Brave Never Fall, I recommend people to go seek out help. If you're in that state, this is for people who have come out of that state. There's a time and a place for everything. And if you are severely depressed and you're not feeling like you're all the way there and you need medical attention, please go seek it out. Podcasts and people's words will not help you. You need physical connections with somebody who has been there and can offer you whatever help and resources you need. This is just a podcast posing questions. And if you feel a certain way, now you have to go get your help. And I'll be happy to provide help for you as well if you need it. But that's why I always recommend you surround yourself with people who are connected with people with good resources, that have people that are there for you. Because when I went through my depression, I know listening to podcasts and things like that would not have helped me back then. I tried it. Self-help books did not help. What got me out of it was me relying on myself, getting into my own brain and pushing myself to do things differently and accepting who I was, even though it was a flawed version of who I wish I was back then. I still say, you know what, this is me. I'm gonna embrace the uniqueness of me, and I'm gonna get through this. And that was at a very young age, and I look back on it. It was a victory I was obtaining, and I didn't even realize it existed at the time. When you live in a world of hurt, it can be hard to see the light, and questioning yourself alone will not do it. That's why that was a bit of a spillover into another category, but which we'll touch on in the future, about getting some severe real help when you have a severe real problem. But for the purposes of this, we're going to keep it a little lighter for people who have kind of gotten over the hump and gotten to the point where you can hold yourself accountable with no excuses. And that's where the Brave Never Fall, that's where it lies at. It's about the people who get up there and you're ready to go. You're aware, you're woke, and you're ready to go. Questioning yourself is so important. Every single day, you should do that. It's just a check-in. It's just a check-in. It's just, how are you feeling? It's not just about the feelings. It's also about the connection you have, the overall body. Not just, oh, my body's aching me today, but I'm falling in love, so it's okay. I can eat whatever I want. It doesn't work like that. It's the overall balance. Don't sell your mind and your body and your soul short. I mean, you can't do it. You can't leave pieces of yourself out of the equation. Balance and harmony is all about being together, keeping everything connected, and shielding it with armor. And armor that you can pull up and down when need be. It's not an armor you walk around with 24/7 and you're like a gladiator walking around and everyone's like, hey, what's up? And you're just stonewalling them. That's not what the armor mean. I call it the strands of armor. The strands, the further your branches reach out. There's a character. Here I go with my movie stuff. But there's a character in Guardians of the Galaxy from Marvel. Groot. I'm sure everybody's heard of Baby Groot, but I think a lot of people have been so focused on Baby Groot because he's been in a couple movies, and Young Groot was in a few movies. They forgot that there was another Groot who was the main Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy who died, spoilers, who died at the end of that movie. By protecting the group, by shielding them in all his branches. He just elongated his branches and he enveloped them. If you haven't seen that, just go look up Guardians of the Galaxy Groot death scene and watch. It is the most unique, interesting, beautiful deaths I have ever seen in cinema. Ever. It is gorgeous. Now, you might be losing some context if you just watched the clip. And if you haven't seen what happens to Groot in the next movies, it loses even more weight. The more they tell the story of the new Groot, you get so much more appreciation of this sacrifice that he made. It's absolutely beautiful. And he just extends all his branches and he envelops them. And they're inside of him. And they're falling. And it's not in slow motion, but it feels like time just stops. And he has like these little bioluminescent bulbs at the end of his branches that light up and illuminates them in this warm, comfortable light. So it's this beautiful setting. But Rocket Raccoon, who is the friend of Groot, is screaming at you, "What are you doing? You're going to die." But it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And I love that scene. And I feel like that's what life is about. It's about you arming yourself, but you're not becoming some gladiator monster. You're just, in a very unique way, you're extending your branches out. The branches are knowledge, wisdom, love, compassion, empathy, connection with everything around you, appreciation and gratitude for everything around you. The more you know and you learn something new every day, the more people you help, those branches extend and extend. But at any moment when there's a threat or there's someone or something someplace that you need to defend yourself and you need to stay centered and balanced, you can bring those branches in, and that's your suit of armor, and you're protecting yourself. And it's nothing hard or cold about it. It's a very warm, human thing to do. And I love that. And I think most people in life don't have that capability of extending themselves to a point where everybody is invited in. But at any point in time, if anyone's toxic, manipulative, selfish, ignorant, hateful, don't know how to forgive, don't have any gratitude for life, you can retract into your armor with that person. That person is no longer welcome in your life. You know, you are by no means saying to this person, "I hate you." You're saying, "I forgive you for your ignorance, but at this point in time, you're not suitable to be in my life because I love myself and I cannot allow myself to be with a person or be around a person or a place or a thing, no matter what it is, that is detrimental to my mental health and to my physical body, to my heart and my soul. I will not allow that for myself." And only people who are allowed to stay within my bubble and are protected by my armor are the people who I feel that are invested in me, the same way I'm invested in them. Value for value. And that's the best way of getting to a point when you're questioning yourself every day, and those questions are coming in and you're ready to answer them. You can always fall back onto a simple concept of self-love, self-value, and self-discipline. That's empowerment. That's you empowering yourself to be who you are. Because at that point, when you go back to that baseline, that boundary, that foundation that you laid for yourself, you'll find that other people are either on board or they can start walking. And you're going to be the same person. It's about consistency. It's not about changing yourself for other people. People will accept you for who you are in that moment, regardless if you're flawed or not, or they have the option of going. It is not your responsibility to make people like you. It's not your responsibility for other people to make sure you're happy. It's your responsibility to be as consistent as possible with who you are. not what other people want you to be. It's hard enough to make yourself happy. Don't cloud your skies with the envisioning promise of, I'm going to be so happy if I please all these people. If I make this person happy, I'll be complete as well. False. That's not true. That's not self-love. People will destroy you if you get into that realm. That's where questioning yourself comes into play, and you can protect yourself because you can ask yourself, what type of person would cause me so much pain and that I would lose my balance and in life and get to a point where I just feel like I'm not myself, that I'm exhausted when I get done talking to this person, or I get done working with this person, or if it's a family member, when I get done having dinner with this person, if it's a spouse, when I get done shopping with this person, I'm exhausted. It shouldn't be exhausting. It should be just like a good friend. Everybody's had some version of what they consider to be a very good friend, even if you've been burned by them or not. There's always we know what a good friend is to us. That should be applied to everything. You know when a job is good for you. You know when a school is good for you if you have the choice. Unfortunately, we're talking about adults here with a lot of this, because when you're younger, you don't have a lot of choices to make, and that's unfortunate. But hopefully you have the right guidance with your family members and your parents and your teachers and your counselors, that they're all collectively helping you get through it. Because trust me, my high school years were where a lot of my problems started, where I lost a lot of my confidence. And it's not a healthy place to be. So it's important, once you become an adult and you have the opportunity to be able to answer these questions in real time and be able to effectively do something about it, it's important. That's a right and a privilege you have for yourself, and you should utilize that. Those questions that you ask yourself every day, like I said, when they help you, you want to go to a place where sometimes it's out of the realm of even possibility for yourself. And I like doing that. That's testing your mind and your body and your heart and your soul for limitations, for cracks, for things that you need to work on. You want to expose yourself. If you can get to a place where you can get to the root of the problem yourself without having some trial do it for you, where some situation or some person does it for you, there's no worse feeling than somebody bringing out an emotion in you that you didn't even know existed. That's a tough thing to deal with. When you're in the moment and somebody says something to you and it hits a nerve in a way where you're like, whoa, what the hell was that? And you're not so much talking to them, you're talking to yourself. Now you're defensive. Now you are mad because you don't know what to do. You've never experienced this type of emotion. This came out of nowhere, and it was not your doing for this emotion to come out of yourself. And in some way you feel cheapened and taken advantage of. You feel like somebody took a piece of you, stole something from you that didn't belong to them. Something you didn't even know of value that you even had. That's why questioning yourself and trying to probe your mind and your body and your heart and your soul is so important, to push yourself past what you already know. And if you can do that in your mind, it's great, because you can always come back into that comfortable place you live in for the time being and come back to it later. Compartmentalize this stuff. The bank, the vault. Put that stuff in there and revisit it. If it's too much for you in the moment, mark it down. Come back to it. But come back to it, because it's there and it's not going away. It's not going away. Whatever that feeling was you thought about in some of those questions, they're going to be there, and you're going to have to deal with them. At one point or the other, you're going to have to deal with them. And as we head into intermission, just remember, everything and everyone in this world is connected. Think about it. If you could wake up from the worst nightmare you've ever had, and that would affect you a certain way, what questions would you ask yourself about that? People do that all the time when it comes to nightmares and dreams. Especially if it's romanticized. If you have a dream where someone swept you off your feet and you all of a sudden was in love, and you wake up and you're kind of disappointed because you're either with or without somebody and you're just not in love like you were in your dream, that can be disappointing. You start asking yourself why that was. Why did I have that dream? Is love right on the horizon? Same way with the other way around. You have a dream where you're running your ass off and everyone's chasing you and you don't know what's going on. You wake up, you're like, what the hell was that about? Same deal. You're waking up asking yourself a question, and the answers you give yourself are important. But with dreams, people will instantly go to look up information. What did that mean? What did that mean? What did that mean? They ask their friends, what did that mean? What did that mean? You need to do that with yourself. Those questions that I'm talking about, where you're asking yourself certain things, treat them as dreams. Treat them as stories that could be true, but they aren't true. And ask yourself why you had certain responses to those dreams, quote unquote. Basically, your questions. Why did you have whatever reactions you had to the questions you posed in your mind about yourself? Why did you have those answers? And if you're disturbed by them, that's probably a good thing, because now you can go and figure out why that is. Why were you disturbed by whatever question you asked yourself? And once again, I challenge you to take something like this. In a way, it's not meant to be some kind of scary thing. It's meant to be fun, to test yourself. What would I do if this person just randomly walked up to me and said, hey, would you like a job? How would you take it? And not the job, but how would you take the question? How would you respond to it? Would you be ready? Would you, because people always talk about promotions until they get thrown into one and they have no idea what they're doing. And then that person who got the promotion is gone 6 months later. You see that all the time. People complain so much about their lives and this, and this, and then they get it and they're standing there. It's like a dog chasing his own tail, or a dog chasing a car. Once they get it, they don't know what to do with it. Dog is running down the street chasing this car or truck. Car stops and like, what? Dog's looking at the car like, I don't know. And it goes back on its own way. You don't want to be that. You got to figure out if something that you've been saying you want lands right in your lap. People pray all the time and people say all these things. They want to manifest, to do all these things. And when it comes to them, they have absolutely no idea what it takes to keep what they ask for, or how to build upon what they ask for, or even accept what they ask for. A lot of people ask for love. Then the pressure gets on and they can't handle it. People ask for money, don't know how to spend it. People get the new car, don't know how to drive it. You want to be equipped. So whatever that thing is that you're praying for, that you're asking for, you're trying to create, manifest, you want to be ready for it when it arrives. Because it will never arrive the way you think it will anyway. You can do all these things. There will always be something that you have not planned for, even in the thing that you wanted so bad. There will be something you cannot account for. And you have to be mentally prepared for anything. People ask me all the time. I just got asked this. I probably get asked this once a day. Why do you seem like you have this poker face about you? And I didn't even realize I had it. And I realized I do have a poker face. But it's only around people and places and things that I am actively just trying to learn more about. I get into a zone when it comes to being around people. I observe people. I like to observe things and places, but I'm also posing questions to myself. I'm asking myself all the time, what are we going to, did we do this today? Did we do this later on? Are we going to do this later on? What if this person did this or whatever? I'm not saying again, this is subconscious behavior. This is not stuff that I'm doing where I got a little notepad and I'm sitting there going, now ask yourself these questions at 12 noon. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm taking in everything around me. And the only way you can do that is you have to be still and balanced and disciplined, because I have to be prepared for anything. And it's gotten me a long way, because I used to be the guy who was very unfocused, very unaware, very just assumed everything was going to be all right. And if it didn't, that's unfair. Life was unfair to me because something happened to me that I wasn't prepared for. And I don't know how to deal with it. That's not my fault. Nobody taught me how to do anything. Nobody told me to prepare myself for this. You don't have to be prepared for everything. You have to be prepared for yourself. The only thing you can account for in an unexpected situation is how you react to it, how you respond to it, how mentally you're going to deal with it, how you're going to keep your emotions in check. Is your body going to break down because now you're physically doing something that you didn't plan on doing that day? Or are you going to be mad at whoever you prayed to at night because you had to go through something? And you're going to yell at this whoever you prayed to and say, what was that about? That's not what I asked you for. That's not how life works. That's not how life works. Life is about balance. It's not always about what you give it, you get in return. I help far more people every single day and every week and every month and every year than I ever do get in return. It hasn't deterred me from doing it one time. Haven't questioned it because I know that's how it goes. And I know the people that I'm helping, it's the same for them. They're probably, especially if they're a good person, they're helping people out far more than they've been helped. That's just how life works. That's not unfair. Everybody has an equal playing ground in this world. I don't care how rich or poor you are. We all do something very similar. We wake up every day and we have options. Some of them have limited options. Yes, some people have to dig their way out of things. That's life. That's life. You have to accept you are here for a reason. And when you do that, you understand. It doesn't matter how much money I have. It really doesn't. It's your perspective on life. How are you going to handle each day with what you have and not make it an excuse? How are you going to stay strong when people are patting you on the back and saying to you, it's okay to be weak? These are questions you have to ask yourself and be consistent and disciplined about it. The worst thing you can do is ask yourself a question and do nothing with it. And I feel like when you are in the type of repeated pattern of avoiding the hard questions about yourself, it gets incredibly frustrating. And you get procrastination sets in and you become fearful and angry, anxiety, depression, all that starts to come in. Is it difficult to not get in a pattern like that? Of course it is. It's very difficult. That's why it's so rewarding when you don't get into that pattern. If you want to know what a real healthy way to get through life is and having a healthy addiction to something, try being addicted to self-discipline. It is one of the most addicting things I've ever experienced. It's almost impossible for me to get addicted to anything. I just have the mental, I always question, and I'm not saying it's hard to get out of habits and things that plague you, because I used to be a drinker. I used to drink all the time, and I just decided to stop. I used to smoke, just decided to stop. I used to lift weights and I was a bodybuilder and just decided to stop. I'm a runner. I just do things like that. Now, when I say decided to stop, that's not in one day. It was a buildup. There's always a time period where the initial thoughts enter your mind, and then there's a process to get to the point where you say, okay, now is a good time to go ahead and make this transition, not turn, transition. You want to get on the accelerator lane. You don't go from one lane and just jump in the air and hop on the other lane. You mean there is a process to any transition in life. And there are times when you do have to make a left turn, and that's when you get rid of things that are toxic in your life that you can get rid of immediately. If you can do that, you should. If somebody has to go bye-bye in one moment, bye. And I know that's harsh, and people say you shouldn't do that. But for certain people, that is very necessary. Because all these questions you ask yourself in your mind also are influenced by everything that's around you. So if you're asking yourself, why am I weak? Why am I not as healthy as I thought I should be? How come my relationships are always failing? How come I'm doing this, and this? The common denominator is you. And you have to be not hard on yourself, but accountable for who you are and what you do. And that's being aware and asking yourself over and over and over again, Who am I? Am I making the right action in each scenario? Robert Downey Jr. was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about how he applies his acting techniques to each scene. And he always says, in this scene, what is my action? What am I supposed to be doing in this scene? What am I supposed to be saying? What am I supposed to be doing? What is this character's mindset? What is going on around me? How I'm going to react to the other actors that I have to react to and respond to. We have a script, but what if they go off script? What should I do? He applied that to the set, but it's also a part of his life. And when I heard him say that, I resonated with it immediately, because that is exactly how I treat every single interaction, every place I walk into, every time I get in my car and turn it on. What is my action? What am I supposed to be doing in this moment? And I do that with people. What is my action with this person? Am I supposed to be doing this, and this, or this, and this? However, in that action, you also have to hold accountable, like Robert Downey Jr. said. You also are dealing with unknowable variations of things going on around you. There are people who are going to do things that you're not ready for. We can walk our own script. We can say, okay, today I'm doing this. But there are going to be things we have to react to. And then you have a choice. You have a choice at that point to move into an area that is unique to you, but still connected to everything around you. Again, going back to Groot with that death scene. It's him, but he's allowing everyone else to come into his world, even for the briefest of moments, to offer aid and help. And that's how I view life. It always starts with you. You have a choice to make. No one's asking you to give up everything for someone, but you are giving up a very valuable piece of yourself every single time you help someone. You're giving up a very valuable piece every single time you talk to someone, every time you get in your car, and that's time. Nothing in this world is for free. You're giving up moments every single day. Every time you make an excuse, you gave up time out of your life. Every time you deny somebody who was there for you and loved you and appreciated you, and you stonewall them and you act like they don't exist, or you're being unfair and being unreasonable with them, that's time wasted that could have been gained getting to know yourself better, or getting to know this person better. Every time you go to work and you know you could have done something a lot better, and you procrastinated and you sat there and you twirled your thumbs, that's time wasted. Not only for you, but for your company or whoever you work for. The wasting of time is something I think about a lot, and I always encourage other people. You have more time in a day than you think. You should go to bed every single day completely exhausted. Completely exhausted. Not to the point where you need to be hospitalized. A healthy exhaustion where you know you had a full day. A lot of those days, that exhaustion is going to come from you doing it to yourself. Other days it's going to come from other people needing you, and you having to step up to the plate and get it done. You can't please everyone, though. You have to pick your spots, and you have to know what is the top priority for you. Again, go back into your vault. Pick out the questions that apply to you first. Start the foundation with you. Whatever is more important for you first. Whatever things that you know have to be done. The people that count on you the most, those are the priority. And you work your way away from that. It starts with you, then the immediate people who are your top priority, who need you more than anything, they come first. Then you start moving it out. The order of importance. Priority, self-discipline, reliability, consistency, self-love, self-discipline. You have to ask yourself, are you on that path? Is that the course that you're on? And through questioning yourself every day, you can do that easily. It is fun to do this. It actually can become fun because you can really come up with some unique things in your mind and work your way through them. Just like the memories I always talk about, where you can rewrite your memories by going back in your mind, picking out memories that will not leave your brain forever, for no matter how long you've had them. They seem like they've been in your mind forever. and will not go away. You can go back in those memories and create a new story by changing something that you couldn't change in that moment in time, and then replaying that story. And your mind will get used to it. And your mind will know that whatever moment you're in, it's okay to make mistakes because you can correct them in the future. What you don't want to do is get in a pattern or habit of making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And that only happens when you don't really truly commit to knowing yourself and having self-love and self-discipline, by putting the priorities in the wrong order, by not being prepared for everything that's going on around you, for not helping other people enough and blaming other people for your problems, for expecting everybody and everything and everyone to be fair to you because you deserve it, which is not true. We all have an obligation to be who we are as unique individuals. And if you can hone in on that and know that each day starts with you, you start asking yourself those questions about yourself every day to the point where it's drilled into your subconscious, the uniqueness of you will be just that much more because you're fine with who you are. And the world needs you to be that. The world needs you to be exactly who you are and no one else. If no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.